Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for another cup of reflectivity. How are you all doing these days? I feel it's been an interesting energy. So much happening, but a lot of it behind the scenes, internally. Waiting to really find the right time to be birthed and come out into the world. So I'm curious where you feel you're at with all of this. So for this week, I pulled the 8th letter in the Hebrew alphabet, CHET. And along with it, I felt inspired this week to pull from the Tao Oracle, one of my absolute favorite decks. And I pulled number 54, the Marrying Maiden, number 25, Innocence, and 16, Enthusiasm. So let's get into these energies. I have to say, when I first started tuning into the energy here, it was getting quite emotional and a little bit heavy, but then really, really turned beautiful. So it's not really surprising, because CHET is an extremely emotional code to work with. So what I'm feeling here as a theme at this time is an energy of freeing ourselves from old chains and shackles and really becoming clear on our old behaviors, possible temptations we've been giving into, and the different forms it has been taken and the reasons why. So that now we can let go of any of those last remnants of those chains, limitations, let's put it that way. And to pull back our energy and to come back into center. So let me start from the beginning here. First of all, CHET 8 is, as I mentioned, extremely emotional. And with that comes a highly attuned sense of empathy, which is very beautiful, a very beautiful energy to work with. However, when we haven't yet learned to set boundaries, to even know who we are, then it can be extremely overwhelming. And it can really be confusing. And that's another energy I've been feeling here since I'm sitting with these energies. It's a sense of confusion, of not being quite clear. In the positive, however, 8 has a powerful energy of clairvoyance, being able to really see clearly and deeply into people, situations. I call this the Scorpio X-ray vision, because to me, CHET has a very scorpionic energy to it in many ways. That deep insight is one of them. That deep feeling sense, empathic sense, intuitive sense is another one. Also, it's very much about our senses of pleasure, sensuality, of really coming home into our bodies. So in the positive, CHET embodies all of that in a very grounded and practical sense. There's a very caring and humanitarian aspect to it. So in the positive, if you're working with an 8 code, you really want to help, support others, and you have the ability to ground your visions and to take practical steps and to become very successful with it. Also, it can be a very artistic energy to carry. With that clairvoyance, that can lend itself to any kind of visual arts. So there's an energy here, once again, of grounding our visions, More so grounding our energies, and I'm very strongly feeling grounding our authentic self, our authentic vision, and becoming clear of what that even feels like. Because once again, I'm feeling the sense here of being pulled off center, of merging too much with other energies, perhaps other people's visions, and losing ourselves a little bit, or a lot perhaps, in the external. Again, that word temptation or seduction comes in. Whatever that is for you, that could be quite literal, losing yourself in another person, in a relationship, and getting very entangled with someone else's energy in that way. And again, the invitation here is to look at the why. What's really going on? Is it coming from a sense of just wanting to be liked, wanting to be accepted, a sense of codependency, or a temptation for position, for acclaim, to be seen a certain way by people, whether that's the larger world, business world, work environment, our social friendship groups, particular relationship. Pinpoint what's really going on and where you are giving your energy away or losing your energy. Let's put it that way, because it really feels like that enmeshment that can happen around people, where we got lost in their energies and lose sight and vision of what we are all about, what our needs are. And compromising too much, getting too much off base, off center, and now having to come in and find that center once again, of being honest about our contribution to losing our power, perhaps our energy, of giving into compromising situations where perhaps we're not really seen as equal, or whatever the situation could be. And actually it could show up in a lot more subtle ways, like losing your energy through distraction, through social media, YouTube, researching too much, listening too much to other people's opinions, other people's research, which all can be very helpful and inspiring. But there is a danger here of getting too lost in it. And once again, losing our own vision, because it can be very confusing. All the different voices in the outer world that pull us this way and that. So again, the invitation is to pull back your energy from wherever it has slipped away to, and pull it back in and really feel the gravity. When you bring yourself fully back into your center of your alignment and what that even feels like. To me, it feels like my power is coming back, like my vitality and energy is coming back when my focus comes back to me. And I feel this very much in the core of my physical being. Again, physicality and the body and the physical world are important themes for 8. It's about connecting deeply in with nature, with our own nature. Our physical bodies are part of that, but also our emotional body with its own needs and desires, and staying in integrity with that, because once again, there can be a temptation to be pulled off balance and into instant gratifications, losing ourselves in the pleasure rather than really being present with it. And again, why is that happening? It can be as extreme as trying to lose ourselves and numb out in drug addictions, but anything can be an addiction. Social media can be an addiction. People pleasing can be an addiction that we can use to give our power away, in the sense that we're really losing an aspect of ourselves that has a lot of importance to us. And we're giving it away, so to speak, by focusing somewhere else. So come back to that. Sit with that for a while and ask yourself, what are you giving away? Is that a sense of freedom, perhaps? Is that your own inner vision that you've felt inside of you for so long that you don't quite trust yourself with to bring it out into the world, because perhaps there are other voices out there that perhaps are contradictory or just speak of different things? Is it giving away a very authentic expression of yourself just in order to be liked? What's going on inside, behind the scenes here? Because especially the marrying maiden, in adjunct to the energies of CHET, there is a compromise here. There is a way that we've chained ourselves to something, or perhaps someone, perhaps ideas, that are now calling us to go beyond it. And again, the real feeling that I have here, that what we're dealing with is something from the past. It's not necessarily something we're deeply enmeshed in at this point, although that can still play out in many different ways. But I feel at the core it's something, someone, a pattern, beliefs that we have been working with, dealing with in the past. And now it's the time when we become conscious of it to the degree where we can really shake off those shackles and leave them behind. There's also an energy here of boundaries, healthy boundaries. Eights typically really have to work with that one, because innately they're just merging, they're wide open. Again, extremely empathic, and with all the challenges that this brings. So again, tune in to where you are at with that, and often that bounces back and forth. Are you on the end of the stick where you don't have any boundaries and you're constantly merging with others and losing yourself in them, in situations, draining your energies in ways that leave you confused, a little muddled? Or are you on the end of the spectrum where you've set too much boundary, where you've erected those walls to protect yourself emotionally? Because with that beautiful energy of compassion and empathy, people can take advantage of that. You know, they can start manipulating. And sometimes manipulation can be extremely subtle and, again, tempting, even seductive. So look into that and don't be afraid of feeling anything around these patterns and the ways in which you have contributed to these dynamics. Because once again, eights are all about feeling, emotions. And one of the walls that they can erect to not be so overwhelmed by feeling too much is to live in their heads, become too analytical, always overthinking things, with that mind that's racing 100 miles an hour, the deep anxiety that can come when we're constantly just looping around in our heads, trying to find solutions. And the way out is through the feeling body, to allow ourselves to feel. And to come back into the beauty and the innocence of just being who we are. Being underemphasized here. So that state of pure innocence when we no longer feel the need to protect ourselves, to wall ourselves off energetically or emotionally, because we already have a good sense of natural, healthy boundaries, which come naturally when we step into our sense of self and claim that space, that sense of this is who I am, this is my space, this is my unique self-expression. And this energy over there is someone else's. And both of us are completely okay with inhabiting our own space. There's no competition, there's no right or wrong, but I get to have my space, I get to have my opinions, and I get to have my self-expression and my needs. And I get to enjoy my life, but from this place of purity and innocence, where I am fully anchored and rooted in my own integrity, because I know my needs, and because I feel no need to manipulate anyone or anything. There's a deep level of trust here in this enjoyment of the moment, whether that's a physical pleasure and enjoyment or just the bliss of being fully present with yourself and in your life and with whoever you might be with, Now relationships can take on a whole different dynamic and level of connection when that beautiful empathy can flow in without needing to be protected and without dissipating your energy and giving too much. When both parties have this beautiful natural sense of authentic boundaries that allow them to be completely open and loving and caring as the eights are, then the connection can take us so much deeper into open-heartedness, into a spontaneous simplicity that's open to just flowing with the energies as they present themselves. But that takes a lot of presence and containment, focusing of our energies and our visions. And this brings with it a beautiful state of natural enthusiasm, where we just want to share what's flowing through us, where we feel this aliveness and vitality return to us in the moment as we're living life and creating our lives. Again, the eights are very good at making things happen, making things real, taking the visions and making them manifest, because they're grounded and real. And they have learned to integrate their emotions and feelings without trying to avoid them, numb them, or run away from intimacy, perhaps. Because again, intimacy can be threatening if you constantly keep losing yourself in it. So these are the invitations this week. Do you struggle with lack of boundaries, and how is that showing up? Where are you losing your energy and your beautiful vision? How does your unique vision want to be expressed in the world? And there's a creative sense of self-expression. Often the eights, with their beautiful visual gifts, are beautiful artists, visual artists. So that could be part of your way of expressing yourself in the world at this time. But it doesn't have to be that. It's whatever is calling you inside, inspiring you, setting you on fire, and that wants to flow through you with this sense of pure enthusiasm, that wants to inspire others and just express itself naturally without the need to prove ourselves, to be liked, to fit in, to not step on others' toes just by being ourselves. You know, if you're that empathic, you can have a tendency to just walk on eggshells around everyone else and trying to figure out how you should behave so that others don't get upset or hurt or feel confronted. And that's not your responsibility. That is not your responsibility. Your responsibility, first and foremost, is to find yourself, see to your own needs, come into your body, embody your uniqueness. And from that place, it will be natural to extend yourself in this caring fashion where you don't need to worry about how others perceive you anymore, because you're coming from a high place of integrity, with the best of intentions, and that's enough. So how are you holding yourself back? Where are you losing your energy? What does this place of innocence feel like within you, and how can you return back to it? Creative expression might be a way right now where you can recapture that sense of innocence, enthusiasm, originality. You know, we're all of us originals. We're all of us unique with unique gifts. And it's sometimes hard to cling to that, to be steadfast and centered in that, when we get too distracted and lost in other people's expressions and opinions, as inspiring as they can be. Maybe it's time now for you to inspire others. So, once again, we're talking a lot about grounding. We're talking about finding our vision and embodying that. Pulling up energies back in from where they might have leaked and dissipated to. Being in nature can be huge and grounding. Use any kind of grounding techniques that you know of. For me, it always works great to visualize roots coming out from my root chakra, from the soles of my feet, and really connecting with the core, and then letting that energy rise up through these roots. Big, strong, powerful roots, and come back up through the soles of my feet, up my legs, up the root, and filling my whole body, and feeling the movement of this energy, and then merging that with the cosmic energy flow, if you will. And holding that energy. You can ground your visions that way too, not just yourself. You can ground relationships that way. If they feel that like they're not quite based on the full truth, like you're compromising too much, like there's too much confusion there, too much, lost energy, not clear energy. Ground that energy, that relationship in truth, in the highest truth of this connection, and ground it in its highest expression that it wants to take in this world, and then release it and surrender it, and trust that it will find its own way, whether that's letting go. Which brings me to another point that came up very strongly, and that is releasing old resentments, letting go of old hurts, because CHET can have a hard time with that. Again, that's scorpionic energy, right? Can have a really hard time letting go of old grudges. Can hold on to those resentments for a long time. So that's perhaps another thing to look at. Are you holding on to old stuff that can now be released? Because that's just creating filters. that you're perceiving the world through, that you're perceiving relationships through. So maybe there's now a new opportunity, whether that's in relationships, in work, in life, and you're still seeing it through the old filters, where you're still feeling the need to protect yourself against something that has in fact nothing to do with the current situation, with the current level of relationship that you're now calling into your life. So where are you bringing old sensitivities, hurts, filters, projections into the new, and holding yourself back from fully embracing it, fully committing to it because of those old wounds? This can get really deep. This can get really deep. So again, don't shy away from the emotions that this might drag up once you really sit with these questions. Let them take you into enlightenment, into lightness of being, into joyousness of being, because that's the promise here. I really feel this as a big turning point. This whole time we're in right now can be a huge turning point in which we can release the old and step into something completely new, uncompromised. Wow, that just felt powerful. Uncompromised by our old opinions and limitations and ways of being. Take that in. Make another cup of tea if you need to, and really sit with it. This is getting juicy. Really, really juicy. I hope that this is helpful. Comment if you'd like, if you have questions, or to let us know how this is expressing itself in your life right now, because this can be very subtle or it can be very obvious. So wherever you are with it, know that this is your time to release the old and to shine, to embrace that pure sense of self. CHET is a beautiful, beautiful energy to work with when you have worked your way through the heaviness that can come with it. Again, scorpionic, are you still the scorpion digging in the mud? Or are you right now transmuting into the snake, shedding its skin, transmuting and transforming as you go? Or are you already on your way to soaring high as the eagle, as the phoenix, as the highest expression of the scorpionic energy? Whether you carry the 8 in your blueprint or you have Scorpio energies in your natal chart, doesn't matter. These energies are available to us now. Powerful energies of transformation and transmutation and deep healing and surrender. It's very spiritual. So tune in to those energies as much as you can. Find a home for those psychic, intuitive, spiritual energies of deep connection in your physical body, and find an expression of that in your lives right now. That's the offer on the table. Have fun with it. I wish you all the best. Until the next time, take care.